Alright, hello everybody, and happy Sunday for a bit of the Sunday musings. Oh, we're gonna start off with some violence, possibly. Oh, I mean, no, guaranteed, but let's see. Ooh, blue ice, yup. This also heals. I mean, that's pretty expensive for not a lot. Uh, we don't really need any of it, so. Yeah, let's save the emeralds for now. Okay, sorry. Anyways, happy Sunday. Like, have a lot going on, a lot that I wanted to muse about, and then I think I might actually switch it up to some Fortnite. I may or may not record, but basically, I wanted to get to, well, and also ran into some problems with Minecraft. It takes a long time to sign in, because I mean, I've got this between a PS4, a PS5, and now a computer too, so it's like, um, but it's okay. I could sign it in, I could fix it, but that would take a lot of effort, and I'm just going to get into it. So, yeah. Sorry, I was right before recording. I was piecing together like what do all these videos mean? Like what's the point of all this? And it all does keep going back to cybersecurity and my new real focus and passion. Just because I did the first CSU cybersecurity boot camp a couple years ago now, and it was great. It was amazing. It was 6 months. It was about 10 grand. It was, a fraction of what a full degree was, both in time and money. But at the same time, it addressed all the tools that you needed to be an entry-level security professional. So I am certified as a white hat cybersecurity professional, although that doesn't mean that I'm like, James Bond of cybersecurity. Quite the opposite. It means this is a recent development and I'm still learning and I'm still at the beginning. So, but I do have the skills considered for basic level. Now, working towards a master's, that's more just like to have the piece of paper to say I did it because we're all constantly learning and constantly studying. It just depends on, are you actually picking up what's being put down? Like, are you actually learning? And not that there's any wrong thing too, I should say, like, there's a lot going on at all times. Like, just because you focused on this area doesn't mean that this other area isn't important for other reasons. So it's like seeing everything on a macro level. And that's why I just kind of like broad generalizations of what we're trying to do in these musings, or what I'm trying to do. I mean, mainly the point is to organize my thoughts so then I can do effective work on a side project, or this is kind of part of it, like the brainstorming of said side projects. And side project is just a general term for, I feel like we're doing the end user license agreement, just in this explanation. But basically, oh, and blue ice is very valuable for travel. See, I already have some stored up there, but emeralds are going to be kind of hard to come by until I guess we have more than I thought, but I'm also constantly going back and forth between my realm, which I think is where we were building, yeah, Oasis. So, but this is back to when login issues strike. This is my go-to for when I don't want to feel like being patient enough to go log in on the master computer, and then, well, to this account too. Sorry, security through obscurity, but also well regulated and documented, but not too documented because then someone just finds that and they're like, oh, I know exactly what to do with your weird setup here. I actually have malware hidden on my network that people can open and download, so don't do it. Anyways, back to reality. No, I'm just kidding. The purpose, cybersecurity. So you can approach just about using general terms. So side project is a general term of any effort or any kind of um, venture, like professional, official, or otherwise, usually not very professional or official, um, that is receiving some work or effort. It's a very loose term applied to whatever an area of focus is at a given time. Now, having said that, cybersecurity can be thought of as two main camps. You can either work in a preventative way or a reactive way. I'm sorry, you can do both, and you should do both. But you need to at least look at the two divisions of the two camps, the two main divisions of cybersecurity. Can you prevent it? And then how do you, like, recover from it? So it's the before and the after. And then really that's a way to think about every problem that you're trying to solve throughout your life. But especially going into like IT or a tech career, and especially for cybersecurity. So, preventative, that's kind of like what we think of as blue teaming. Like you're protecting. Well, actually, no, blue teaming still encompasses all of it. So you're protecting, you're setting up firewalls, you're setting up networks, either virtual or physical, logical or physical, segmenting your network so you can protect things against, what's accessible to the outside world, what's not, closing certain ports, making sure that you can even do a free download of, oh, what's the tool called? I'm drawing a blank here. My professor would be so disappointed. No, it's well, anyway, you audit your computer, and as soon as I figure that out, maybe I'll toss that in the description. But um, in fact, actually, no, this is important. If we're gonna talk about it, we should look it up. So like, um, because I used it in the boot camp. Let's see, vulnerabilities. There we go. I speak such. So there's Dynatrace, no digital defense, Capterra. What is it? Oh, what was it called? Top 10 vulnerability scanning tools. Capterra, ConnectWise, Tenable, Technology. Nessus, there you go. Nessus. That's the one that we used. And that will, if you use Nessus, and you can use Nmap too. That's a website that you can actually scan, and that's fine. Now, if you scan anyone else or anything else, be prepared to get into some trouble because it is illegal. You're not allowed to just scan people's networks and see what they got going on. That's spying. That's the same as going up to someone's house, jiggling the door handle and seeing, if someone's home. So, and as such, you should probably also know that they probably keep track of everybody that goes to these resources. You're on a list somewhere, and the best example of that is if you watch the movie Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. It has a point in there where they actually tracked down somebody based on their library history, what books they checked out on a public library card. Now, that is a government type thing, so that's okay. They're spying within their own domain. But guess what? Government also controls a lot of the infrastructure, like the cables. Unless you have some eccentric billionaire like Elon Musk laying a network like his low orbit satellites, which he is, then okay, so you have a little more regulation with Elon Musk. But then guess what? The government has to have regulation in concert with Elon. So either way, you should just always assume that the government is looking at what you're doing and can see what you're doing. Because there are ways, even if it's just, I remember there was the argument against the smart meters. So law enforcement was going to start spying on people and basically finding who was growing drugs, who was creating drugs, stuff like that. And it was seen as unconstitutional, but at the same time, it's like, well, wait, you're breaking the law, so, why should people really care if their privacy is being invaded? And then you get into like the 1980, like all the doom and gloom, like George Orwell. Like once the government takes complete control, then if they start doing something bad, like then you get another Hitler situation. Okay, now the fundamental flaw with that, and the reason that a pure Hitler situation, now I need to pick my words carefully here, is very unlikely to happen. Now I say that we got a current war going on, two conflicts actually going on right now, which are concerning. I mean, the Ukraine slightly less so. I mean, it's still bad, but like considering that we finally got out of the Middle East and we stopped bombing all these things, like that's a pretty big win for like that whole area is America getting out of Dodge. But there's still problems, and we still got to figure that out. I'm not saying I'm supportive of one side or the other. I hate having to choose sides. I'm on side humanity. Oh, and actually, let's take a break real quick. Actually, let's start writing these down. I was gonna go into the realm. I need to go back to the Oasis really for this. Maybe the next music. Maybe I'll take the time and go into it. But we can also copy it over here. And that's the point. Is like you can't have the Library of Alexandria just get burned down and all the knowledge get lost. Like we have to make it to where, well, like the internet design. If a part of it got blown up or got destroyed or even just fell out of commission, like if it was just old, obsolete, whatever, that node went offline, then several other nodes can carry the load. We can get into a rhyme. The nodes carry the load. Anyways, that's why the internet was designed the way it was. It was a war. It was a project of war, or a product of war, basically. It was like if a nuclear bomb blew up like this half of the country, could we still communicate? And the answer is yes. You cut off the head of a hydra, and then there's thousands and thousands of other ways that we can route those packets, that information. So, but that's why I say that the Hitler thing is okay. Sorry, let's back up. Cybersecurity and analyzing threats. What are you trying to protect against? That's a way to kind of like broadly look at, like, because otherwise a lot of this does sound very kooky. You start throwing around things like Hitler, you start throwing around things like, you know, people often forget, wait, this kid is going, or this middle-aged adult now, is going to school, or has and will be soon. There you go. That's part of why the master's, because people look at you differently when you get like a degree. I have a degree, and then I have a boot camp certification. And I was also third highest, I think, for at least what I could see we were tested on. Just the little like markers that you like to see, like, oh, how good did I do? How good did I understand it? No, I'm just kidding. You can't get too caught up on that because then it's wasteful. It's wasteful, it's pointless, and it's fanning your own ego. And once you get to a point, you're like, oh, I don't need that. My needs are met as far as my comfort with myself, which I like to say I'm mostly there. Like, I still do some things out of vanity. I'll admit part of going to the gym as much as I am is vanity. I mean, getting buck, getting swole, it is a pretty big motivator. I mean, it is pretty cool. Plus the endorphins you get from working out. But for those people that don't get to, like, how do we, to quote the Lord of War, how do we put a weight in the other nine hands or something? Like, there's a quote in the Lord of War about guns and the people. Like, you know, it's like 8 out of 10 people are unarmed. How do we put a gun in the hands of those 8 people? Was basically, and it is a totally pure evil character that he plays. And, all intents and purposes, he thought he was doing a good job. He was maybe breaking the law a little bit, bending the rules, selling a gun here and there. But then it's like, no, you're facilitating tools of death in the hands of people that may or may not be properly trained and may or may not be properly informed. So that's just dangerous, and that's just. So why law enforcement and all that is still important at every stage of this journey is because they're all people too. They're all trying to be out there protecting you, maybe someone else. I don't know. I had a pretty big falling out with one friend because he was all anti-police, and I'm like, well, we've all been knuckleheads. We've all done some things that maybe they might take issue with, but at the end of the day, and that's why I've gotten out. Not that I've gotten out of so many tickets. It's just that I've had so many pleasant encounters with law enforcement. Like, if you treat them with respect, like the people they are, they'll treat you with respect. And they'll treat you with respect regardless. They might have an opinion about you. They might be cautious about you. They might have their hand on their gun. Maybe it makes them feel safer, considering that, you know, anyways, there's a lot of understanding that needs to go on with that. Sorry, that's kind of like a whole rabbit hole and tangent, but to understand cybersecurity, you need to understand the whack-a-mole game that security is. Like, what does the threat landscape look like? What kind of attacks are you going to need to protect against? I mean, because it's great if you learn everything about this one attack and then all of a sudden it's irrelevant. Doesn't matter now. I mean, it's kind of funny. I'm going through a lot of that right now with my work and like security in general. Like, because we do multi-factor on everything, and we audit the multi-factor, and then we do so many rotations with this, and so many this and that, and it's like, you know, and then Google starts announcing, oh, we're coming out with passkeys. So then it's a matter of having the right hardware mixed with the right logic. So if you are not on the person's phone, then sorry, you're not getting in. It's as simple as that. Like, and really that's what we're trying to do at the end of the day. Like, we need to make it to where you have one device to rule them all, one key, one ring, and then that makes it to where like 90 to 99% of all the attacks in the world, cyber-wise, are to steal money. They're to either steal your information to where they can steal money, or they're trying to steal money. That's it. I mean, maybe steal pictures. Like, there used to be pervy people out there that would do that, but now that we have adult videos in most of the world, that's not as big of an issue. So now, and again, I'm just saying, like, these are all of the types of threats and attacks that you can uh, prepare yourself to defend against no matter where you go. Because if you have kids one day, guess what? You're going to try to protect against people from getting pictures from your computer. Now, and then that also goes the other way too. If you're trying to protect your kids from like kidnappers and potentially sick people out there, guess what? The enemy number one almost right now is people doing stuff like that. So again, just assume that the government can see everything you're doing. I mean, it used to be that God could see whatever you're doing. Religions, specifically Christianity, but from what I've heard talking about with my friends that are Islam or that are Muslim, sorry, I've drawn a blank there. And same with Judaism, my Jewish friends. Like, it all seems to be the accountability piece. Like, All of them believe that there is a God, including myself. I'm like a loosely tentative, like non-practicing Christian, but I was raised Christian. There you go. And not even like Catholic, mind you, like Methodist. Hold on. Ugh. But it's important to understand the very human nature way of following religion. Now, whether or not you actually believe in it, that's a whole different story as to whether you follow the teachings, follow the words. And granted, people say stuff like even the Bible specifically, it was written by a bunch of dudes that didn't actually know Jesus specifically, or this and that, and they wrote it later, even like, or it was translated and all this. There's so many ways, but it's important to understand that people will people, and as soon as you kind of feel comfortable with that notion that people are people, and you're protecting against people, and you're protecting people, then it's all a lot more relevant and it's a lot easier to follow. So now religion in a nutshell, like granted, I feel like we all give thanks to whatever created us, even if we're just like some organisms in a pickle jar somewhere that was cleaned out, like like some ideas in things like Far Side, a lot of comedy works, and Calvin and Hobbes. Like the more you get into like funny things, the more you start seeing these ideas that make you think. They spark, bold thought about wait, or like The Simpsons with Lisa's tooth. Ooh, he's so expensive. No, we're gonna let you simmer down. We'll actually get some bread. All right, but anyways, you need to understand that people are people, and that's another thing too. Cops and robbers. Like I remember playing that game growing up. Let's use you for some bread though. Actually, there's Skeeter. And then actually, you know what? Even though you're a little priced, I hope something good happens to you today. Let's give you some bread. And you. There you go. And you. Thank you for the experience. Now go breed, basically. So I don't know. But the thing is like the only reason we have malicious attacks and really crime at all is because either real or perceived equality. That's it. I mean, that is it. Is your Are your needs getting met? And and there's several factors that attribute to that. Pride is one of the biggest ones. We all have it. I mean, especially like through COVID, we saw a lot of people that normally wouldn't be so close to living without a home, being experiencing homelessness, going through a period of homelessness. Because the more that we really drill down that a lot of these situations are temporary. Nothing is permanent. We think about it used to be because everything used to take like a million. No, sorry, that's an exaggeration. Before internet, before phones, before computers in every household, like things would take a long time to happen and often wouldn't even happen at all. And that's a very vague and broad concept, but think about it. Like if it took the Pony Express to take you a letter to let you know that your relative is sick, by the time you get that letter, they might already be dead. I mean, now we're like instant communication. Like, wait, someone's not, like this and that. Instant. Like, and then same goes for problem solving. If there's a problem, behavioral or, financial or legal or any of that, ethical is a big one. In fact, I plan on doing entire segments on law and how law should be nonprofit. Forced, mandatory, education, law, and really everything should be nonprofit because as much as I love capitalism, it really got away. Like there was too much dog eat dog that went on through it. People like lost their lives over it, and it's not something to lose your life over. Greed is, and that's why again going back to the Bible and how I do respect a lot of what it says. I mean, I don't blindly follow it. I don't think there's some guy in pajamas like controlling everything we do. However, if he exists or if she exists, I like to act in ways where they might not be that mad at me. I mean, they might be a little disappointed. They might be like, "Oh, A-Rye, what were you doing?" But at the same time, they'd be like, "Okay, I can kind of see that." And I like to think that they're understanding because if they are all seeing as the holy books say, and mind you, Islam is very close and Judaism is very close, like especially or at least in the places where it counts. Like they believe in evil, they believe in good, they believe in this and that, and then it's up to the person to really believe. Like, do you take it with a grain of salt like you really should with everything, or do you take it as rote, like I live by this and no one shall deter? Well, guess what? Most people are living in that gray area now. And it's okay. It's okay to respect it, and it's okay to say it, but at the same time, be like, you got to be real. Like, even if it is true, what's the here and now? Like, is it relevant right here, right now? Like, is this gonna make? And a lot of times, the sorry, let's put it this way: A lot of the people that really claim to live by the book are wealthy people that don't want to see change. They don't want things to change. They love how they're living. They've got everything they need. They don't want to do all the work of having to actually like earn money and stuff. So they'll do that. And then that's how you get the snake oil, and that's how religion is kind of impurified and dirtied. And I hate talking about it too. And every time I see a YouTube short, I just skip it. So do my kids. They start seeing Jesus, they're like, "Oh gosh," they roll their eyes and they skip it. And granted, they still do the church. Actually, I don't know how much we're doing of that, but anyways, a lot of my family is still very Catholic and very religious, and that's fine. Like, power to them. I support them. Like, and I don't, deny a lot of it. But when it's just like crammed down your throat, and that's done when people oftentimes are insecure about it. I got this other buddy who all day he's quoting religious stuff, religious stuff, religious stuff. And he's a pretty good problem solver. Like, I know he knows how to solve a lot of problems, but there's a lot more that he doesn't, and so this is kind of a thing right now. I don't know. And you need to be careful about that because you start leaning too heavy on it, and what happens if it is proven false? Like, and that's why like people that spend a lot of time doing sciencey things, they've just kind of learned the harsh reality that like sometimes you will be completely wrong. It's not if, it's like you just flat out will. Like there's gonna be times where you don't remember exactly what was what or the name of a certain thing. Like I do it with geology. I love geology. I love rocks, minerals, studying them. Thinking about Hank in Breaking Bad. They're minerals, Marie. But no, and I actually got the highest grade in the community college geology class. So I like to say that too, because you start throwing around, oh, I got the highest grade in a college class. People automatically fill in the blank, be like some like high third year physics class or something like that. No, no, it was an entry level geology class, but still, I feel like that was a pretty cool thing. And at the end of the day, it didn't matter because a lot of people in that class learned a lot of stuff about rocks that was just really cool. And not just rocks, Earth in general. Like, I mean, geology rocks, but geography is where it's at. Haha. Anyways, have we deterred quite a bit from cybersecurity? Mm. No, one of the other things I was thinking about as I was getting ready to do the dishes is people that learn from history or people that study this or people that study that. If you're fortunate enough to either be able to afford it or to take the risk like I did and go to college, then they make you do a bunch of random other classes. So if you're a math major, you're not just taking math classes. You have to take electives, you have to take core curriculum, you have to do like a certain level of social sciences. And that's at least what my experience was at CSU, and I know it's how a lot of universities and colleges work um, at least in the U.S. And now it's spreading and everywhere. And not that we're like the bees knees and the greatest ever. No, other universities that have been around a lot longer are continuing to diversify their bounds, as Wu Tang would say in that Dave Chappelle thing. You gotta diversify your bounds. And I won't finish it, of course, but yeah. So, uh, but well-rounded. People are becoming well-rounded because of communication and technology, and we gotta keep pushing that home. And a recent development, I may be working with a local outfit to help distribute computers to the community. That's huge. So now I gotta get the computers, and that's actually not that hard because from my experience of taking classes in finance and accounting and stuff, I know. Let's see, I did marketing, management, finance, all the like a bunch of business classes for my minor. So I learned that one simple tidbit of information that is really valuable in this moment right here. Companies factor in good faith value into their budget, meaning that every company, every large corporation, every big company actually accounts for giving back to the community. And that's great, and part of it's guilt, part of it's like they good honestly want to be doing it because they're people too. And again, corporations, you can have that argument like, well, they're not really people, we don't need to, but they do support a lot of people. Those are people that are in there doing the work. So they're not robots, they're not some, and even if they were robots, come on, like why you got to be like that? All religion. Anyway, sorry, I digress. But the point is that companies need to do things like this. Like, and if it's a low cost to them, it would just be the time it would take to process. Excuse me, to process them. And then you got Red Key USB. And yes, I am a small time investor in it, but that's not why I say any of this. Because I'm going to turn around and reinvest literally all of that money into just doing more of it. Like if you've ever seen Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, When Nature Calls, the second one. It's the very beginning. He's trying to save that raccoon, and the helicopter guy's like, "If I were you, I'd go back, Ace." And he's like, "If you were me, then I'd be you, and then I'd use your body to get to the top. You can't stop me no matter who you are." And then he lets out this maniacal laugh. And that's the way I see white hats. Now, pure white hats. I have had friends say, "Oh, I'm a gray hat because I don't believe in this government law or this rule." And, especially like prohibition and the war on drugs. Like, I don't believe in a lot of that either. However, I'm not about to start breaking laws to try to like do any of that. I'm going to try to go through the proper channels to encourage the facilitation of change. Because one person alone can't do it all. But a bunch of people and a bunch of good communication and a bunch of logic and reason and patience. Oh yeah, that's actually what's happening. Look at Colorado. Like we are the leader. And I was just fortunate to be born here, honestly. Like I didn't do anything special. I was just born here. And like, that's what people need to realize. Like just because you're from Colorado doesn't mean you're all super special fancy, but you can talk about what makes the state pretty interesting. And that's why I remember I used to hate Texans, right? I used to hate them because I worked at a ski resort and we'd always see them come and we hear a bunch of y'alls and yeehaws and oh, it just drove me crazy. Now I don't care because people are people, but that didn't really make sense to me because I was only seeing the people that were wealthy enough to be on vacation, first of all. So I wasn't seeing the people that would be closest to my economic level, like, the middle to lower middle. Like I was seeing people that were, well, still probably middle, but middle to upper middle. So even that distinction I wasn't aware of. Until now, in hindsight, I'm like, maybe I should have gone easy on them. And then not only that, but there's the distinction of, okay, well, they're on vacation. Well, it's stressful, especially all the money you gotta pay. So even if they were like middle to lower class, now they gotta find out, oh, I gotta pay like hundreds of dollars for a ski lesson. Like I can't even have fun without paying more money. Like so maybe they're in a slightly lesser mood. Like all of these things. And again, I took sociology, psychology multiple times, all these ologies in college as my electives, but also in the very beginning, I just took classes just because I wanted to take classes. I was like, well, I'm paying for it, so I'm gonna learn what I want. So that was expensive. I wouldn't recommend doing that. But anyways, uh, people are people. That's the biggest takeaway. Let's see, how long have I? Okay, it's getting close on the 30 minutes. I worry about like going into hours because I do that, and then it's like that's why I have the alarm set and all that. Especially playing this game, you can get to a project like we've just been like messing around, healing or repairing our tools, getting experience. I haven't even gotten to what I was gonna build. Oh yeah, that's right. And then books, making books to write all this down. Because you might be seeing this, but you might have been gummed up with seeing like the bajillion other videos I've made, and so I constantly try to like parry it down, make summaries. Currently, let's see, where do I have crops growing? I do have crops growing. Okay, but I don't know how well they're doing now as I say that. Oh no, someone is getting in here. How? How did they do this? Everything is carrot. It is so evil. Okay, sorry. What that means is one of the villagers has gotten here. There's the alarm, and we're actually getting nigh on. We have like a minute because it took me some time to free up some space, but all your base are carrots. Yeah, I see you. Little. No, it's not him. Um, basically, we got to fix it because I was going to get wheat to get cows, which, I used to think would really affect people in India after I saw the movie Bubble Boy. But when I went to India, not so much. Like, it's just more seen as a prick move, like if you kill a cow. Like, it's just like, oh, did you have to? And honestly, like a lot of it, we're going to not really need to rely on beef. And that is going to be like, as I say that, there's going to be a lot of people out there like, oh, no, no, this is some hippie, like, I'm not going to give up eating cow. Well, you don't have to give it up, but like, our dependency on beef is mostly because of our time restraints. Like, we are used to having McDonald's and Burger King and the need for fast food. And for some reason, beef has just been like more popular than chicken or ham. I think 'cause it's cheaper overall. I don't know. But when I used to work at a Subway for many years, 5 years in college, I just learned like the prices of meat dictates what kind of price the sandwich is overall. Like that's why we're giving away meatballs. Like they were just this very low cost meat. So, anyways, ta ta for now. I'll see you in the next one.